Okay, this is a 2018 Honda PCX 150, and I'm doing a rear final drive oil change or gear fluid change. There are two 12mm bolts here. This is the fill bolt. I already loosened it. And this is the drain bolt. This scooter has only 150, 130, forgot exactly, miles on it. And this is the first fluid change. Now I'm doing this proactively just to be sure it has a clean, good quality transmission fluid in it. You never know what exactly they put from the factory in Vietnam, like on this bike. It's built, manufactured in Vietnam in March 2017. And the fluid that I'm going to be using is this Mobile 1 7590 synthetic gear lubricant. Gosh, why is it not focusing? I'm using a tablet, so okay, that's what it is. Just got it at AutoZone. Technically, the manual calls for motor oil 10W30 to be used in it. I don't like that idea. I think it's too thin. It's probably done for convenience. I usually replace fluid in final drive approximately every 3 to 5,000 miles, depending on how I ride. There's no contamination in it, no oil, no gasoline or combustion gases in it, so it's just straight mechanical breakdown that's happening there. But to get rid of any possible metal shavings, I think it's sufficient to replace it every 3 to 5,000. It won't hurt. It doesn't take much at all, only 0.1 of a quart, or approximately 100 milliliters. So it's extremely inexpensive. Anyway, this is the fill bolt that I'm taking off. Oops. It does have a little metal copper washer on it, and I'll have to figure out which way it went. Ideally, you can put a brand new one every time you replace to ensure that there is not going to be any loss, any leaking. But I've never had any problem with them leaking, even when reusing the fluid, the washer. So I'm gonna just keep the old one in. Let me get some light. Okay. Well, it is visible how the old fill plug, when removed, there is still some fluid coming out. It's a good sign. That means it was completely full, even a little overfilled. The bike is leveled. I placed it in some wooden pieces to raise it a little bit, but it is leveled. So when I opened it, there was a pretty bad gear oil smell coming out. So it definitely does not smell like engine oil. So maybe they never did put engine oil at the factory. Anyway, let's undo the drain plug. I'm gonna use this little container here to capture the used gear fluid. And if I can hold this, maybe I can. Hope it is visible. Yeah. So an extension is needed. It's good to know. Of course, a breaker bar or another type of 3/8 ratchet would probably have enough clearance, but it is good to know in case I ever need to take the nut off in the field. This is a horrible extension. It's twisted. It's a really cheap one, and I just didn't throw it away. But it'll be usable in this kind of application. There's not a lot of torque, so all right. One, two. Oh, very easy to undo. And it's coming out. I hope it's easy to see. Might spill. Actually, don't need that. It's clear. And it better be in this mileage. It does appear quite thin, so it actually may be a motor oil. Oh, it is a long bolt, so it's good. It's impossible to mix it with a filler. Well, it's probably the same thread, but yeah, it's not gonna you're not gonna confuse them. Ow. Okay. Let's turn the wheel a couple of times to let it. Oh well, it's on parking brake. Let me take that off. Let's see, how do you take off? Oh, there it is. I'm new to this bike, so I've only ridden it once to the DMV. I plan to keep it stock completely I don't believe in too many mechanical modification without aftermarket companies, because they're a lot more likely to decrease reliability overall. Now I hear a lot of people having long-term issues when they install different Chinese aftermarket components, like different size rollers, different type of variators. They claim performance increase, and I'm sure there's an increase in performance, at least in some aspects of it. Let's say increased acceleration at the expense of top speed, or increased top speed at the with unintended consequences of let's say belt rubbing the variator housing, because it's now running higher on the pulleys than it's intended. Or maybe some other issues. When you change parameters, you run the risk of putting too much stress on some components that were not meant to be under that kind of stress. For example, reducing restriction on the engine, removing the electronic speed limiter. Well, sure, you can spin the engine much higher, giving it higher top speed, but you run the risk of wearing out that engine, or even leading to catastrophic damage when you redline it so much. Each engine has designed highest, safest revolutions per minute, and it's just mechanically limited. It's the size of a piston, the valve train, the spring on the valves. All of those things have limits, and when you dramatically change how those components are operating, you just cannot expect the same reliability in the long run than the original ones. So you might be putting a lot more stress, let's say, on the connecting rod bearings or piston pin, and no surprise, people then find that those bikes don't run as long as original ones. Anyway, enough of that. Obviously, people have different opinions about that, and this is just mine. I do, however, like to increase visibility of my bikes by putting reflective tape. So I actually ordered some white reflective rim tape for this bike, and it's in the mail, maybe already in the mailbox. Alright, so now that it's drained, obviously it's cold, so it's not draining as well as if it was hot, but I think for first fluid change it's quite sufficient. So the next step is going to be to close the drain bolts and put new fluid. I'll probably use a syringe. I'll figure it out. Now, actually leaning the bike over a little bit may help to drain some of the old fluid out a little better. I think it's stable enough right now. Let me lean it. Let's see. Yep, started coming out a little more. Hope it doesn't tip over. That'd be a fun video. That's as much as I want out. Well, I'm gonna put the tablet down and maybe we'll lean it a little more while handling the handlebar with two hands. Okay, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to clean the drain plug, drain bolt. Where is it? Where's my camera? Camera's here. Jeez. Apologize for bad equipment. Camera. Might get some better camera later if I decide to make more videos. Yeah, there was a little bit of dirt here. Actually, in fact, it's metal shavings, believe it or not. Metal dust suspended in oil that came out from when I wiped the bolt, which means that the gear oil was in fact mixed with metal shavings, so it is quite a good idea then it was to change it. I'm going to clean this washer without changing its orientation because they are crush washers. So this side up. And I'm going to keep everything here clean. Okay. Perfect. And let's put it back in. I want to clean this portion also. Clean it. And shit. Still recording. Now I don't know how much torque this bolt requires. I could look it up, but I just usually tighten them until I feel it's snug enough. It's hard to do all this with one hand. Okay. This can go now. All right. And that's good. I do feel it's crushing, compressing it a little bit. Now, it's a good idea to monitor it for first 2 rides to be sure it's not leaking. Because I did have one instance on my Elite that the crush washer didn't sit properly and there was tiny seepage from it. But of course it has to be addressed immediately because it'll drain over time and ruin the transmission final drive. Alright, so now let me find my syringe and I will put the new fluid in it until it starts coming out of the filler hole. Alright, I'm just gonna set this like so. I think it's focused. Let's see. And I decided to just pour the fluid using the bottle. My last one was leaking, so I was using the syringe instead, but I think this one might be better. So we just start squeezing it slowly. Maybe while turning the wheel to spread it over the gears. And it's not coming out yet, so I'm gonna pour some more. And it is full, I believe. Yeah, it's full. The fluid is coming out. Alright, so this is a great time to install the filler bolt. I'm also going to wipe it down. Let's see. This kind of crushed. It's fine when it's still coming out a little bit. Won't hurt anything. Same 12 millimeters. It doesn't need a lot of torque at all, just enough to snugly so it doesn't unscrew and doesn't let the dust in. That's all it needs. And just changed the oil already. Again at 100. I think right now it's 140 miles, maybe 150. Let's see, 134 plus about 12. Probably 136. I mean, 134 plus around 12. 146. Alright, now I'm gonna wash the bike and probably apply a little bit of wax onto the plastic surface so that it can be protected a little bit from elements.